Talofa love everyone and welcome back to Organic Talanoa. My name is Aogamalie Sione Sione and I'd like to welcome you to my podcast Organic Talanoa. In this episode I'm joined by Falefitu Tony Laulu and we get to listen to insights to the background of his digital discipline, how his kids were an inspiration behind his new book series, and the sharing of an experience of spiritual healing, connecting him back with his roots in Samoa. I hope you find something interesting and meaningful in this Organic Talanoa to support you in your journey in life.
This one's for you and you and you. And you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Welcome to Organic Talanoa. I'd like to welcome my guest today, Loko Wha, Falefitu, Koko Vaimaunga. Tony Laulu, welcome to Organic Talanoa. I'm really happy and honoured to have you in here, bro. So I guess a pitch to you is just boys talk, talking under the trees, and we're just having a chat and just see self-directed Talanoa. And yeah, man, it can either go in depth or just touch the surface, bro. It's entirely up to you, brother. But I guess just for people to understand who you are and what you're about, bro, I'll hand it over to you for a bit and then we'll carry on.
Sweet, yeah. My name's Tony Laulu. For people that are probably watching, when you talk to different people, sometimes you feel old, sometimes you feel young. But as I reflect, there's only been a few things that have happened in my life. I was born in Samoa, raised in Onehunga, so those are the two places I call home. My parents are still there. Been there for 30 plus years. So drop by there every couple times a week. But right now I'm based out in Takanini with my two boys. But yeah, man, that's kind of a little bit about me. I went to school in Mount Albert. Not that it has any bearing on who I am today. But other than that, man, I'm the founder and owner of Digital Disciplines, and also the Chief Book Series. And so the two sort of things that are stressing me out in my life in a good way.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's a little bit about me.
Oh, the digital discipline. I guess when we're looking at that, I think I came into some one of the network meetings and you were talking about it. And I guess it's just how you came about it, bro. Is like I know one part I remember you were talking about the amount of time we spent on it. But yeah, I guess by the sounds of you done some work with Edmund as well. So yeah, bro, people probably interested to just understand what digital discipline is. I guess in this basic for yourself.
Yeah, hoping to work with Edmund. He's a good fella. Caught up with him a few times. But essentially, digital discipline is just a movement, and they're starting to carve out what the industry is called, and it's called digital well-being. And it's something that kind of that term never really existed a couple of years ago, but because it's becoming more of a topic to talk about, that's kind of what it's called. And so that's where digital discipline sits in, which is essentially to help people and communities and families understand the impact of social media, screen time, gaming, and, from those are another raft of issues and sort of challenges that we help people with when it comes to pornography. It goes into self-esteem, self-worth. It goes into gambling, online gambling, and just a range of issues that I think people are dealing with or sometimes even struggling with silently, because it's not like your normal addiction, right, where there's probably a couple 0800 numbers if I had an issue with drinking or gambling. If I asked anybody, who do you call if you have a social media addiction, nobody would have a clue. And for some people don't even know it's an issue. The reason behind that is there hasn't been a good amount of time for, I guess, researchers to pick this thing apart in order to find out what the true impact is over a generation, right? So that's my bread and butter. That's the stuff that I'm involved in, and I thank God for putting me on that path, because wouldn't have been able to be where I am today without, some divine intervention sometimes, because there's been some nights where it's been a slog, and then some days I'm just lazy as. So, yeah, man, just grateful to be able to have something land on my lap, really.
I guess we kind of look at those things too around whether people understand, like around the digital discipline in terms of themselves, where like they're dedicating too much time to it. So I know we've all seen the scene where, that person's always on their phone all the time. I guess too is like when we look at how it can influence some people, and from that, you can get all the issues too around the suicides that come through. Like, do you see a lot of that, I guess, now coming through the understanding with our kupulanga, our youth and that? Like, do you see that happening a lot with them trying to understand that, how essential is that phone? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's I feel for them, mate. And I think, and I'm not generalizing that it's everybody or every teen, but I do feel for them in the fact that they haven't had any proper education around the etiquette online. It's not like they've had 2 or 3 generations worth of, okay, this is how you use this particular tool. Right now, it's still growing, it's still evolving, and so the algorithms that pop up on your phone, or the types of things that kids are doing or seeing on there that they mimic or imitate, are stuff that some of us adults or parents, we don't even know what they're up to. So as safe as they might be within the 4 walls of your home, a lot of parents have lost them, really, to be honest, because their emotions, their thoughts and their minds are somewhere else. So they're there physically. It's funny because back in the day, I'm sure our parents had the same fear, but it was to keep us home because they didn't want us to be a street kid, or those kids that just run away and never come back. So right now, I think some parents, I'm a parent myself, and my sons are at home, but I think like other parents, they feel like, okay, they're safe, but are they actually? Because they're on that device for 5 hours a day. So
yeah, it's kind of tough for me when you're looking at like because it's if you think of some of our parents too, is like when they need a break or when they're stressed out from looking after the kids, it's almost like it's that's the easiest thing to do is just hand them their pad and play your games on it. It's with a lot of our families too. It seems to be the go-to about arguing online. But yeah, I think it's kind of like really gone hard onto our lives, like even to our private lives. Like, do you find that you're seeing a lot of some of the sites, like I guess the TikToks, some of the other ones come through that people will actually putting on their issues in there.
Yeah, man, it's bro, you're bringing up stuff that we could talk about for another hour, but I'll try to summarize kind of my observation, but then also some points to think about, because I think people are just too used to people talking about problems. So you're right. There's a real problem with people airing out family issues and stuff like that, and I think people may tend to feel like it's an empowering type of decision to make, to go and expose someone and something like that. And I think for some it might be justified, but I think a lot of the time it's to play the whole woe is me, look at me card. Yeah. It's not really about the issue. It's about look at me and how I've been, or whatever. And so that's where that education needs to come in. That's where some of the insights that digital discipline tries to instill in our, just whoever we're talking to, is before you go and post that thing, because I know you're pissed off, just have a quick little, assessment of if that's going to matter in 2 weeks' time or 2 months' time, because you might go blast that person. But in fact, do you have all the facts? Do you have all the pieces to it? This person, you might even have, already negative perception of that person. It just happened, like you could take a lot of sports stars and entertainers that go through the ringer sometimes through the media, and ends up they're not, they're not guilty.
Yeah.
And so they've gone through this whole, dragged their name through the mud, and we're doing it on a smaller scale through our little community, and so sometimes it's it's the self promotion sometimes that we feel like we need to. No, I really need to get this off my chest. I think there's a time and place for that, but like I said, the social media, man, is the Wild West. You do what you like unregulated. Nobody's going to say a thing unless it's against the rules of Facebook, where it's incites violence or something across like some close to pornographic something. Then they might have a look at it. But anything else, you say what you like on there.
Yeah, but seeing how many likes you can get, but man, good point there. Falefitu Tony. I think with just in terms of how maybe, and I think it goes with anything before we post or before we say is like just have a think first on what this is how this is gonna implicate across that person over there, how it's gonna affect them. So that's a good point taking there on just always thinking about, because sometimes you might say something out of anger, or it's just out of jealousy, and then not thinking, oh, bro, I shouldn't have said that. It's too late.
Right. That's right. And I think we've all done that. We've all said stuff in the heat of the moment that we always regret. And that's the same issue with social media. I think people don't, pause for a bit to run it through their head a little bit before you say it. So, yes, same deal, whether he's saying it in person or saying it online. Books,
bro. Like I saw the books come through, and I don't know if you remember when we done the Pacific Cup. I came with my wife. Right. She bought some for the kindergarten kids, as she teaches down there or manages them too. And bro, how's that? I mean, I guess we sort of go a little bit into a bit of your cultural background and your connection into Samoa, and how that influenced maybe, or what influenced you to be able to create these books, because they were awesome, simple books, bro.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, again, I don't take too much credit, man. I guess it was just the little bit of confidence to take an opportunity, and that's all it was really. But the books that have been written have all meant something to me. Started off with a book about my sons, Sakali and Lemalie, and just that whole process of that first one. Obviously, I'm not an author. Never thought I wanted to be one, but I guess there were a few things that aligned at that time, which was, firstly, was the digital discipline message that I wanted to put out, but secondly, was about putting out a book or a series of books that highlighted the misrepresentation or the lack of representation that our children have in libraries or resources that schools have. Because all the books that my sons come back with, the stories have been, because one of them's in a bilingual unit, a Samoan bilingual unit. So what they've done, and it's no fault of their own, but they've just translated the story and just sellotaped the Samoan version over the English. And that's the kind of books that I'm getting. And so these stories are stories that kind of Jack and Jill, and as much as I appreciate those books, because those are the books I grew up on, we're at a point now where we can create our own resources. And so I guess that was the catalyst really to try and there's already books out there, but if you look at the library section, it's not that many, as opposed to every other kids book. And so yeah, man, so when I got into it, I know that I have a bit of a creative mind, and so I made sure that the characters, especially my sons and the other ones, the skin tone needed to be, because my friend Thomas Greenshoe, shout out to him, just an amazing illustrator. But we were trying to get the skin tones right. I said, man, that's not dark enough, because my son's a bit dark, because I know he. And then we talked about the safe brown, because there's some books that are written where there's a color where it's safe enough to kind of, it's not too dark. And I'm like, oh no, we need to stop. Like, do it exactly how they are. Yeah. I made sure that my oldest boy, he's athletic, but he's not skinny. Yeah. And I made sure he needs to represent someone that is big bone per se, or one of those thicker boys, and so made sure that he was like that. My younger boy has long hair. I said, we're gonna make sure that
real life characters.
it's not tied up, man. Make sure that his hair is flowing throughout this book, because in terms of representation, that's one example of what you call it. I can't remember if there's any other book that has a boy character with long hair. It's always short. Even the Islander books, some of the few that I've read, they all got short hair. So, but as you know, everybody knows a kid who's got long hair in our family. So I just wanted to make sure that the ones that were not represented in these books, or in the current books or range of books that we have, that I would try to fill those holes, and so that was just the exciting part of it, was creating it. Yeah, bro. So
probably a lot easier too for you to sort of create the book too, because it was more personal for yourself. As the connection is obviously with your kids, but awesome, bro, just to present the books as the characters as they are, compared to making up these fairy tale, the so-called profile of this is what kids look like. We know that, bro, obesity is massive too of our kids. Looking at even understanding everybody out there understanding that, bro. I mean, if they can do Jack and Jill, then we have the ability too, as PIs, be able to do these too. So, not holding ourselves back, which is good. It's good picking up out of that, bro. I just looking across, it was like, so you're moving from, you've lived kind of like central, 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 Auckland, So how's it been moving out south, man?
Yeah, it's been all right. I enjoy it. Takanini is one of those suburbs nobody knows anybody that lives there, because it's in between Manurewa and Papakura, right? And it's like, but I enjoy it out there. It's the furthest of any of my family that lives. So back in a few years ago, when my parents would say they'd come, they'd always make it out like they're traveling to Hamilton. Yeah. Like, geez, it's not that far. But I enjoy it out there. The boys go to a Manurewa school, Clennon Park. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's not perfect, but I lived in Anianga, and not that it was like hard out hood, but I've seen enough in my life to know that this little mini riot that happened a few years ago, or someone's chasing someone down the road, it's not like, oh my gosh, it's like, I'll see if I need to call the cops. If not, it's all good.
It's quite funny how you say it, because I think basically lived and schooled out there in Papakura, so but everybody sees it, man. It's like going to Hamilton, but then, not really realizing now, the price of housing and that, you guys are all moving this way. So, everyone's starting to move down this side now, and just come through Papakura, living out there, and realizing, man, there's so many islanders now, there used to only be a handful of us back in days, which is good for us, because, bro, it's just the cost of living and everyone moving down. It was going to happen anyway. I remember looking up. I was wanted to know a bit more digital disciplines. I was like having a look through, and you do a lot of public speaking too. See, for yourself, that's always interesting. I know they say that some of us are naturals. I don't know if this was something that you sort of thought of when you're growing up, or whether this has sort of just come about just with your line of work and experiences in life.
Yeah, no, that one's an interesting one. I mean, there has been, I mean, since COVID, those opportunities to speak in person have been a bit limited, but I think I point to sort of the religion that I grew up in. I grew up Mormon, and so I even, I went and served the Mormon mission as well in the Philippines. And so there's, that, and other times at church, it's just, you're just talking 24/7 really. And so I probably, point to those experiences of just being able to talk, or if without those experiences, I'm a real introvert. I don't do too much talking, and I enjoy it, but I have a limit. And so, bro, lucky I got heaps of reserve to talk today. But yeah, naturally, I like to listen. I don't. There's a few people I like to talk to heaps, but I don't know. It wasn't because I have, with all humility, I've had a few people say, bro, you're pretty all right talking, eh? Is that something you went and done a course for? And like, no, it's just. I think if you've done enough White Sundays and you're in and around church growing up, there's a lot of skills that you pick up that people would need to go do a short course for, how to build relationships of trust, how to how to when you're talking to people, how to negotiate, or all of those little people skills, that we naturally just picked up, for the first 20 so years of our lives just being at church. And so, yeah, I enjoy it, man. I mean, there's some parts that maybe I need work on, but I guess that's where digital discipline is the stuff that I don't enjoy now. I'm about to delegate that stuff to other people, because for the longest time it's just been just me doing everything, eh? So
have you got a big team like digital discipline? Or?
It's just me and my partner at the moment. She's been doing a lot of the admin stuff, but there's some allocation there to start bringing some people on a contract basis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, to just take some of the load off. So yeah, looking for a facilitator or two, looking for, ironically, a social media manager, someone to just write stuff and blogs and all that sort of stuff. And then I think the other one was just a sales and marketing person. And so that's all scary stuff as well. And actually, I'm glad, if we do talk about that stuff, then that's cool, because most of the podcasts that I have been on want to talk about the social media or the service. But honestly, the thing that excites me the most, or just as much, is actually the business decisions around it. Because what everybody sees is the service and the value, without understanding there's this back office of business decisions you have to make, and all the sort of long nights and strategies you have to work through, and leveling up your sort of mindset and way that you live your life in order to succeed or push this thing further along.
Bro, we can talk about it in terms of, because it's a lot of the other ones we've talked about, they're business people as well, and I'd say that'd be scary. If you're a person that hasn't really dealt too much into it, you're obviously a businessman now, going in with work. So how's that journey been, bro? Like for yourself, I guess, in terms of preparing yourself mentally and with things that you're dealing with, people. Because man, talking with people too can be articulate in certain ways, or like how to approach them. Like how's that journey been, bro?
Yeah, that again, that's the thing that's been I've been able to do well, is be able to I guess build genuine relationships. And sometimes I feel like I'm a bit monotone or don't come off too charismatic, but I think that's just me being me, right? Because I think over the course of our lives, we've seen the ones that a bit flaky, that. Okay,
you can tell
you work at a car sales, car salesman or something. But I just let the story do the talking and then the results, and then I just make sure that I'm saying it in a way that they, as someone a stranger to digital discipline, can understand.
Yeah.
In terms of the journey, man, I think right from high school, I think I was always fascinated by the sort of entrepreneur lifestyle. I listened to a lot of rap, and a lot of rap is either bad stuff, drug, sex, and money, but also there's a lot that talk about coming out of the slum or make that hustle stuff. So I loved that, and so right from high school, that's all I listened to, and I just had this. So I started a few little things at school. Some were illegal, some weren't, but at least I practiced over there, So I always felt, even into my 20s, even though I worked a lot at just odd jobs here and there, that eventually I wanted to just be on my own and independent, and because that's just all I knew from the music that I used to listen to and still listen to today.
A lot of life skills there, like in terms of yourself working and sort of having those part-time roles when you're coming through when you're young. I guess if we touch back with a bit of like looking back to when you served your mission. If I looked at there, how was that? Like, I guess Philippines, like, the language, cause, having cousins having to have to learn language. So I had Samoan cousins who came over. English wasn't the best, but then they were getting put into Australia. So had to sort of learn how to speak English probably. But, man, when I meet up with them now, they're champions, it's just like having a normal conversation. But, for yourself, you still got the lingo, man?
No, I don't think I could. I know I could understand.
Yeah.
Probably, I wouldn't even say the majority of it, only because, and this is not an excuse, but I went to a part of the Philippines where it's not the national language. It's one of those like in the mountains type.
Oh.
So it's called Cebuano. And, when I came to New Zealand, it was really hard to find anybody that spoke that language. Everybody could speak Tagalog, which is the mainland, but speaking Cebuano, there wasn't that many. So, so that was challenging. And so, but yeah, that mission, definitely helped in terms of, almost being thrown in the deep end as a 19-year-old, So most tough situations that I've been in, you built a little bit of resilience. I mean, there's times in my life where I've cracked, like, my mental health or has taken a massive hit. But, in terms of that experience, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you have any, when you talk about the bit of like stress, rather than calling it mental health, I guess when you're under stress and that, do you have any, ways of sort of how you sort of, settle yourself or be able to, even if it was just a relaxing or some turn to like exercise yourself? Do you have any mechanisms for yourself that you?
Yeah, man, it's crazy that you only start realizing this stuff like in your mid-30s onwards, eh? Like everything that you ever experienced starts to resurface, or not resurface, but starts to surface. You're starting to make these connections as to why I say this, why I react like this, why I lash out like this, why I eat like this, and you're starting to really like, oh shit, it's because of that from when I was younger, and so it's crazy. So in terms of like when I am getting real flustered or frustrated, breathing is the only thing that I turn to, breathing and prayer. Like that's the only thing that can bring me peace, like almost like a dead set right there, then and there kind of solution. Yeah. And so just either going into a different room or being outside and just trying to focus on breathing, and that's only something that I've picked up in the last year or two, and so I think as we move on through life, it's easier to stay in our rage or stay in like these negative types of spirits, but I'm glad for someone like yourself who loves this type of conversation and work with men's mental health. It's important, but I think to keep on. In terms of maintenance, bro, I love to play golf. I try and work out. I just go to the gym for, 45 minutes, lift a few things, have a look at how other people lift things and just try copy them. But other than that, bro, I've been loving the water, and especially in the summer, me and my sons try to get to the beach or some pools. And when I can, I go by myself because... yeah, being in water to me is
spiritually healing, bro.
100%. I don't. I mean, going to the swimming pools is probably like the microwave version, but I'd rather be at a sea or something. But on that spiritual healing thing, that's exactly why I went to Samoa a couple of years ago, and I didn't have any of these tools, right? And there's this village down the road from my dad's, which is called Wailoa, which has a waterfall there. And this is kind of when digital discipline was starting, and I was kind of in a mess mentally. And I'd went up there by myself, and I spent probably half the day sitting in the water. And I don't know how long this podcast is, but because I'm a believer, this is where I started to experience this other phenomenon, I guess. It might sound weird, but it wasn't a Jesus experience, right? It wasn't a religious Christian experience. It was it was like a Samoan spiritual experience.
Yeah.
And since then, there was another experience, landing in Savai'i, because I've been there a few times, but this particular time, I felt almost the Samoan universe greet me and say, welcome home, son. Yeah. It's the weird, like, even now saying it, I get goosebumps, eh? And there's the spiritual element to being in touch with your motherland, I guess, that I've tried to pull from when I'm making decisions. And so, I remember being in, I think, just in a church service, right? And they told us, you submit, and this is the one true God, and Jesus is it. And though I believe that, I'm not at odds. I've found my own comfortable spot where, yes, I can pull from a Christian religious belief, but I hold my Samoan spirituality to the same esteem. So, it kind of contradicts Christianity, because they said almost forsake any other sort of like well that you draw from. But I can't deny that my DNA has been built for thousands of years in a different country, and for me to forsake that, I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Especially when there's, a lot of involvements of demigods in our stories. And I totally understand, bro. Like, and how powerful is that, bro? Like, I don't know if this will be the first time that people have probably heard that about how healing that was, but it just gave me goosebumps just listening to, and I guess like Samoa, by the sounds of it, man, is like your place of you sort of get a lot of in-depth thinking in that, and bro, still connected, like in terms of like reaching out with family, or even groups over here, your village groups or your family, like, is that still something that's pretty still solid with yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm at my parents at the very least once a week, and so I get all the updates from them. But definitely always mindful of them. I don't know if I share, but I sent 100 books to my village a couple at the beginning of the year.
Oh, nice, bro.
Because I think the issue that has been around for the last decade or two is financially we struggle, and we want to help and we want to give back, but sometimes we give back at the expense of our family. And now that we're in a position to earn more, there's no excuse for us to feel like we can't give anymore, because we can support our families here in New Zealand, and we can support, and that's, for me, I've had this conversation only a few times, but I think that's why Mother Samoa sent her children out. She allowed us to go to New Zealand and Australia. It's so that you could go, get educated, and you can come back and assist, whether it's by your intellect, whether it's your business nous, whether it's your funds, or whether it's coming back and doing something. So I'm always drawn to the fact that I have to be involved with something going back, because if she sent my granddad out and my dad out, these people got to come home. Yeah. So if they don't, I have to, and that doesn't mean physically going back and living, even though I have entertained that. It does mean that we have an obligation. Because I forgot what verse it is in the Bible, man. You're assigned your ethnicity for a reason. So I could have been born Indian or Pakistani or whatever, but I'm born Samoan, so I have an obligation, to Samoa. So that's kind of, it sounds kind of too patriotic, but I think I think actions always speak louder than words.
No, I think it's you're on the money there, because like you say, they look at us for in terms of the sport, and a lot of the times it's money. It's money. We probably complain a lot. But as you pointed out there, bro, like we actually, over here, we do give money, and I think even if you come down to your last $1 and you sent that over, and I guess it's just for us, it's like, I feel a lot better that I was able to support them in that way. Can't be there physically, as we'd love to be. But, I mean, that's the reason why we're over here. So, supporting them from this side. But nice, bro. Like, it was nice listening to that. Especially in terms of, because I had the same, when you're talking about your experience of welcome back to Savai'i, like I had a journey for myself. I did the tatau, but I did it in Samoa. So when, and the funny thing is, I didn't realize too much about the Manono Islands. And when I went there, that's where I got done. And then, and I was telling my mum I said, you know, the funny thing is when I jumped off that boat, it was like, yeah, exactly the same feeling, right? That's why it gave me goosebumps. I just felt like I was home. And then she said, well, actually, your great-grandmother's from Manono. So I said, oh, okay. So it all,
That's right.
so
That's right.
it's pretty much, I guess that whasino manga, so like probably where you're actually from and where you're linked to. So that's massive important. But I think, bro, I could carry on and talking a bit more. I mean, maybe if get an opportunity, but I think there was heaps, bro, like to just have a chat. Nice hearing your passion for still supporting and connecting in Samoa, especially around your books as well, and how personal that is to with the kids. And I guess when we're looking at the digital discipline as well, so just I guess bringing that to surface, because they're probably something that we don't really talk but too much about. Yeah, we know, and it's we probably understand that these are issues, but we all of a sudden we just don't want to talk about the white elephant. But thanks, bro, for especially having a passion in that. And I know you got massive more work in it, and you probably more like a PI trailblazer going through into that area, which is that unheard of, bro? Like for yourself or digital discipline, like PIs trailblazing. Is that you? Would that be right?
Bro, I wouldn't know. I think within my own circles, I just always wanted to pioneer something, because that's, I have a couple family members, grandfathers that were the first to do something. So I always thought, okay, if they can do that at that time, what is it that I can do to blaze a trail, and so, or pioneer something. So yeah, I don't know if it runs in the blood quietly or I'm not sure, man. But
it sounds like it runs in the blood. Yeah. Awesome talking to you, Falefitu. I know we've kind of just met, but bro, just really learned a lot about you.
Appreciate
and
it, man.
like I say, when we come on the Organic Talanoa, it's self-directed, and a lot of us you may think it might not be of value, but bro, someone there, it's touched someone's heart also.
Appreciate it, man.
Oh man,
Much respect. Thank you, bro.
Look forward to having you on another one, but even probably
version.
helping you to do the podcast as well.
Yeah,
Shabala.
no, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
This one's for you and you and you. And you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Da 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 da.